Hi, this is Scott with eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at and installing our Air Lift wireless air compressor for our 2025 Chevy Silverado 1500. Our Air Lift wireless air we have installed here today is a really nice option if you have airbags and you just have the regular Schrader valves in the back and you're looking for an upgrade. Or if you plan on getting airbags, this is a really good idea to install these when you're doing those as well, because you'll have the whole setup. What these are going to allow you to do is have your compressor mounted to your frame along with your control module as well. And this is going to allow you to be able to change your air pressure in your airbags from a remote in the cab of your vehicle while you're going down the road. So that way, when you get your vehicle all loaded down with all your camping gear, or you have your camper on the back, you don't have to go to the gas station or drag out your air compressor to air up your airbags from your Schrader valves in the rear of your vehicle. You could do it easily from right in the inside of your cab. Our Air Lift compressor setup is going to come with the remote, and the remote's going to give you a digital readout. So that's really nice. You're going to be able to change your pressures on the fly. So say you want to go up a few pounds, you just want to go up, set it, hit your button, and that's going to allow it to come up whenever you want it to, as long as your ignition is on. Now also, you can also set this up where you have certain settings for different things on here. So you can have stored memory in here and use those as well. So this is a really nice thing to have if you want to be able to change your pressures on the fly, or maybe it's raining out and you don't want to have to get out and mess with Schrader valves at a gas station or whatever. You're going to be able to do this from the safety of your cab. Now, if you have any questions or comments on this system that we have installed today, feel free to leave any questions or comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Other than that, as far as installation goes, it's pretty straightforward and the directions are really easy to follow. But if it's something you don't feel like doing yourself or you don't have time, you can always take a look at our dealer locator and get something done for you locally. If it's something you feel like doing yourself, stick around, watch our video, and we'll help you get it installed. To start our installation of our compressor for airbags, one of the things I like to do is get everything out of the box and just kind of give everything a look and get everything compartmentalized. One thing I like to do too that's real quick and easy is just build our little air inlet vent. It's basically a filter for air. All you do is just screw on the plastic part that comes with it and get your line. So that's just kind of one step out of the way. That way that's all done. And now we have our remote, our compressor, and our control box here, and just basically all of our hardware all lined up. Just making sure we have everything before we start our installation. Now we want to find a good place to put our compressor. So we're on the passenger side of our truck, and I kind of want to go back a little bit. I'd say right in this area. Right here we have a double layer of steel, and I kind of want to stay away from my mechanism for my electric running board. So I'm going to go just in front of that. So what I'm going to do is, in our kit we have self-tappers, and I've already got one started and just did that as a tester to see if we were able to run our self-tappers in, which we are. So I'm going to go ahead and get one of those run down in place just to kind of get a start of holding my pump in place. Now we know that's going to work there. We want to leave enough room just forward of that for our control box as well. And we want to be able to have it where the air lift is upright, and we want it facing this way. This is where our electrical connections are going to go, so we want to make sure we leave enough room in front of this where we mount it, where we can still make our connections. Now you can see we have our pump in place, and we have it all four of our self-tappers put in place. Now keep in mind, these can be pretty tricky. You're going to want to run a pilot hole through them first instead of just trying to do that with just the self-tappers themselves. That'll save you a lot of headache. After you get them ran with a pilot hole first, it's a whole lot easier for you. With this in place, now we'll move on to getting this box put in place, and then we can start running our hoses and wires. Now we're going to need a piece of plastic line that goes from this connection on our control module to our compressor. So our hose is pretty long, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop the hose back. Now I'd have my hose up and tied back a little bit. I will come back through and run another tie around this to make it a little more secure. But the idea is just so I have enough room to have my line run to the box. I'm going to cut off a clean end. Make sure I have that at a good 90. And we'll get that plugged in to one end. Just want to push that in until you feel it come to a stop. Give it a little tug, make sure you have it good and secure. Now we'll cut a little bit off our other end. Now we'll just get our line pushed into the end for our compressor. And just make sure they seat well. Now I'm just going to run another tie around this to secure my hose a little better. Now while we're here, we'll go ahead and plug in our electrical connection on our box. And we're going to have the white end and we'll have the latch. We want to line those up. Push real hard. You'll hear it click in place. And once that clicks, you just want to push that white tab forward and that's going to lock it in place. Now for power to our compressor, we're going to have our red wire, which will be going to positive and negative. Now these already have a ring terminal and a spade connection on it. What we need to do is connect these to these two wires that are going to be running forward. So what we're going to do is just cut these off and we're going to strip both these ends and we're just going to connect them directly together and then we'll run our whole harness forward. Now making our connections, we're using heat shrink butt connectors, and those, once we heat these up after we have them connected, are going to give it a good waterproof seal. So we want that, having these wires are going to be outside of the vehicle. So that is definitely something you're going to want to do. It's just a little bit of insurance. And once we get these crimped together, just want to give them a nice little pull. Make sure you have a good connection. Now I'll come back through with my heat source, heat these up, and we'll shrink them in place. Now once we heat these up, we want to try and get all the bubbles to come out. And once we get to that point, you'll see a little bit of gel coming out of the end. That's what we want to see. That's how we're going to know that we have a good watertight seal. Now on our control box, we're going to have our ports that are going to be for out, which are going to go back to our airbags. The top one is going to be number 2, and that is going to be passenger side. Our bottom one is going to be number 1, and that is going to go over to driver's side. So I have the one in number 2, and I'm going to go ahead and route this one back to the passenger side first. Now for the lines coming out of our pump, we went ahead and ran our number 1 line, which will be driver's side. That comes out and runs up over our frame, which we'll show you in a second. And we have the number 2 spot. That one comes out, goes up to the frame, and runs down the frame to the back to the airbag on the passenger side. Now we can show you underneath where we ran our lines. Now we came out from the outside of the frame and then went up top here, and we kind of started tying them off away from our exhaust or any moving parts, ran them back, ran up over our tank we have here, and then we came across over our frame, tied off here, went across, and then we ran over and we cut into our line for our bag and we installed a T, where you can see our 2 red lines. Those were the lines that were there previously for our airbags. Now those, one runs to the bag, one will run all the way back to our Schrader valve in the rear, and we have our black line that is coming from our pump, and that will be supplying air from our compressor. And for our passenger side, we just ran all the way above the frame, above the tank, and past our shock. We wanted to tie off away from that, so we can't let that come over and get into any of our moving parts. Ran up and over and did the same thing we did as we did on our driver's side. We just cut into our line from our bag to the rear, and we teed off into that and ran our black line into that. Now we have our air filter for our pump buried up in underneath the bed, and we found a factory hole that we could just pop that into. We ran our line down along the top of the frame, then we ran our line over to our pump and just got that pushed on. And now we went ahead and tied it off to our frame through a couple holes we have there just to hold our line so it isn't drooping down or falling into anything. So that is good and secure. Now for our power wire, we ran it up on top of the frame and ended up coming up behind our wheel well here. And we have to keep it away from moving parts. So right here, we had to go on top of, there's a part where there's a plastic, almost a bridge that goes across, and it's gonna have a bunch of wires in it. So we ran our wire on top of that and then zip tied it all the way across that and then came down through the front of our wheel well and then up in through the front. Now with this one being a diesel, you wanna keep in mind that we have right down over here, we're gonna have a piece of tube that comes out for our turbo, and that has a chance of getting hot, so we want to make sure we keep our wires away from that. So routing it the way we did, it allows us to get all the way around that and make sure we don't get any heat source on it, and it allowed us to bring it up right up here by where our fuse box is and where our battery access is. Now we have our fuse holder. We're going to go ahead and get that built. This is going to go to the positive on our battery. We just want to snip that in half and strip off both ends. And after we strip them off, just want to twist our wire. Now in our kit, we're going to have our ring terminal. Just want to get one of those on one end. Get that crimped in place. Give it a little tug, make sure we have a good connection. Now on the other end, we're going to put on a heat shrink butt connector and get that crimped in place. Now we'll keep our fuse out for this part. Now we'll move under the hood and get this attached to our wires. Now we have our red wire and our black wire, and we have quite a bit extra of that, so I'm just going to cut a little bit of that off. I like to leave a little extra just in case, just for routing, so I don't want to cut too much off. And for our pink wire, I'm going to go ahead and leave that long for now until we get to that part. But for now, we're just going to strip off both of these wires, our red and our black. Now with that stripped back, I'll get that hooked up to our heat shrink butt connector. Get that crimped in place. Check that, make sure we have a good connection, and we do. Now we don't have a fuse in this for now. We're going to hold off on installing that until we get everything hooked up. For now, we have our black wire. We'll get that stripped back. And with that stripped back, we'll take our other ring terminal that comes in our kit, and we'll get that crimped in place. Now where we're going to connect our wires is back here we have our negative terminal. We're going to go to this back post right here that comes off, and that's basically an accessory post. We're going to go to that. And then for our positive terminal, right underneath our fuse box, we're going to have this post, and this one goes directly down to our battery post, and this one kind of acts as our jumper post as well, so we're going to connect to this one right here. Now we'll heat up our heat shrink butt connector and get that all sealed up. All right, now we have our negative terminal. Go ahead and take a 10 millimeter and get that nut backed off of that. Now with that off, let's get our ring terminal put on, install our nut and tighten that back down. Now we'll take a 13mm socket and break loose our positive terminal. And we'll get our ring terminal installed and tighten that back down. Now, as an option, you can hook up your pink wire. And what this is going to do when you hook this up is it's going to only let the pump run on ignition or when the vehicle moves. And what this will do also, so if you ever develop a leak in your system anywhere in one of your lines or one of your bags, what would happen is if you didn't have this hooked up, there's a high possibility that your system could keep running until your battery run completely dead. So what this does will prevent that. So what we did is we did some tests and we found fuse number 40 right here in our fuse box, and it has a 10 amp fuse in it. This one is going to work as an ignition switched fuse. So when our ignition is off, so will this circuit. So it doesn't have any power to it. So that's going to tell our pump not to kick on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a mini fuse tap and I'm going to pull out our 10 amp fuse for that location. So what we have is our fuse tap. For our bottom fuse that's closest to where we're going to plug in, that's going to be our 10 amp, and that's going to replace the 10 amp that we pulled out that goes into our fuse box. Now the one on top of that is going to be a 5 amp, and that is going to basically control our circuit. After we have that hooked up to our pink wire, we have it all crimped in place. Now we're just going to push it into the slot where our 10 amp fuse was for our ignition source. Now we'll get our 15 amp fuse put into our fuse holder. Now we'll go ahead and put our cover back on. And we did notch the edge of the box just to give it a little bit of room and make it a little bit easier to get at our fuses. Now we did go ahead and let our remote pair. So now to get our bags checked for air leaks, what I want to do is pump our airbags up to 70 psi. We'll just run that up on our remote, hit our center button. Now with some soapy water, we just have some dish soap and water mixed together. We'll go around to all of our connections and just kind of make sure we don't have any leaks, looking for any bubbles coming out. So far, everything looks good. Now, if you do end up getting any large bubbles coming out, all you want to do is bring your air back out of your bags and then go ahead and pull the line out. All you have to do is push down on this little section and then pull your line out while you're holding this down, and then just go ahead and cut it and then clean it back up and push down on it, put it all the way back down in place, and then go ahead and do a recheck on it and you should be good. Now we'll spray where our lines come up into our control box, and everything looks good there as well. And that was a look at our Air Lift wireless air compressor for our 2025 Chevy Silverado 1500. I'm Scott with eTrailer, and thanks for watching.